Welcome to The Bluegrass Story, the podcast that takes you on a captivating journey behind the mic with the most talented and influential artists in the world of bluegrass music. In each episode, we dive deep into the lives and careers of bluegrass musicians, exploring the stories that shaped their artistry and the passion that fuels their love for this timeless genre. Now, here's your host, Don Mack.
Today on The Bluegrass Story, I'm excited to bring you a conversation with an artist who has become one of the most authentic and narrative-driven voices in modern bluegrass, Marty Falle. His brand new holiday album, Bluegrass Christmas Stories, is a beautiful blend of tradition, memory, and Appalachian storytelling. It's one of those rare seasonal projects that doesn't just celebrate Christmas, it captures the people, the places, and the emotions that make the season meaningful. We're going to talk about the roots of those songs, the personal stories behind them, Marty's musical journey, and how he continues to carve out a powerful artistic identity in the bluegrass world. So settle in and enjoy this heart-filled conversation with the incredibly talented Marty Falle. Well, hello, Marty and family. It's so nice to have you with us today. It's good to see you. Thank you for making the time.
Just so happy to talk with you. Been going back and forth over the last couple of years, and now we have a chance to do an interview, and just honored to be with you, Dawn. Thank you so much.
Oh, likewise. It's an honor to have you. Well, I've got to kind of start. I'm kind of start at the latest point and we'll kind of work backwards, but I've got to talk about your brand new project, Bluegrass Christmas Stories. I mean, to me, when I listen to it, I'm sitting there going, well, we already knew. I think most of the bluegrass world knows that you're an awesome songwriter, storyteller, and you blend all that together and you just put out great music across the board. And so I love Christmas. And when I saw you finally put out an album, I was like, oh my gosh. So I had to dive in. And it was hard to sit there and go, I love this song the best. It just was so great. And so, as you got into this, what were you thinking? I mean, what was kind of the jump off point where you said, now's the time to make a Christmas album and I really want to do this?
Well, I told myself I'd never do a Christmas album.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I always thought that was like, I always, I can't see myself singing, Jingle Bells and the First Noel. And even though those are great songs, and I made a lot of money when I was 10 years old, going door to door and knocking on doors and singing Christmas carols. But the truth is, I decided that I was kind of searching for the true meaning of Christmas. And I also decided that anything I wrote would be original. And so it made it harder on me to not do, your typical, bluegrass version of a Christmas classic. Even though those are great songs, I decided to stay true to myself and try to write some stuff. So I was nervous after I did it. I'll be honest with you. I didn't know how people like you and others would react, because they're, like I said, they're original bluegrass songs, right? So I'm thrilled to death that you did like it, and I know that songs like The Shepherd and the Star and the Santa Claus special, which it's all Appalachia centric. It's all Eastern Kentucky centric. And anybody that knows anything about me or our family is that we split our time up in Kentucky on our farm. We're also down here in South Carolina. But, there's so many great Christmas stories about Eastern Kentucky, like the Santa train that comes through every year and has been doing it since, World War II, I believe. And, it's a train that goes from, Pounds, West Virginia it's called the Clinchfield line up through Pikeville, and delivering toys to all the poor children of the communities. And it's an incredible tradition. And Patty Loveless actually did a song called The Santa Train. And I found that out after I wrote mine.
Oh, so, wow.
I'm like, gosh, I got to change the title to the Santa Claus special. I saw a picture of the 40s right there. It had Santa Claus on the train and had a picture called the Santa Claus special. And And, it's just barefoot children running out, getting those presents in those coal camps, and decided to write a song about it. And that was one of the 8 originals on the record.
I think sometimes as artists, even writers, you've heard book authors talk about this, they were never going to write a certain genre or a certain, like they were always going to be self-help or they're going to be fiction or what have you. And then they put out a project and it's like so contrary to what they wanted to do. And then it ends up being like so well received and people love it. And then you go, what was I thinking? Right. So I think in you with all the music you've released in the last few years, it almost seemed like you had to at some point, even if you were against it, because you're such a storyteller that personally for me as a radio professional, I would never see you like doing covers of Christmas songs that have been covered a lot. You are the story. I mean, I could see you writing your songs for a Christmas album, which I think makes like everything you do very unique and different from what others are doing in the industry. It's so easy to put out a cover of a song that's been out there, but to sit down and write your own and then to make it your own is I think a unique quality that many artists have a hard time, being able to do anyway.
Oh, thank you, Donna. And I really appreciate that, because that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to keep originality in and the art in bluegrass. So, this Christmas album that I just did, Bluegrass Christmas Stories, actually my son Macklin named the record because he said, Daddy, these are stories, these are stories, and that's what you do. And so we just put a pretty simple title together, Bluegrass Christmas Stories. But I had been writing some outlaw music. I did a record called Hillbilly Irish, which
Mm-hmm.
we were so happy today. We woke up and it was number 6 on the Roots chart, and then the Christmas album was number 25 on the Roots chart. So it was nice to see that happening because it's kind of hard to do that.
Yeah.
And but I had been writing these kind of bluegrass outlaw songs, and so I started writing this song about I started to do research about shepherds, and didn't realize that these people were like considered like the lowest form of human, worked hard. Some of them had kind of jaded or outlaw pasts, some of them were criminals. And I thought, well, why don't I write a real song about a shepherd who has a criminal background, who then is contacted by God to witness the birth of Christ.
Wow.
And so I just kept going with that story because I think maybe that's exactly what happened, right? Is that you had this person who had a checkered past, who would never expect that God would forgive them enough to let them witness maybe the greatest event in the history of the world.
Right. And I think just stereotypically, people don't think of shepherds as being the lowest of the low or even having any kind of criminal past.
Right.
It's the typical depiction. They're in the field watching the flocks, right? But when you look at it right, holding the staff. And then when you look at it from a biblical perspective and you look at all of the, checkered folks and colorful personalities that God used in the Bible to carry out his plans and purposes, they weren't, straight-laced people. They weren't people that went by the book and followed the rules and did all the right things. I mean, they were, Saul/Paul is a perfect example of that. So, it's no surprise that I think that is great. It's a powerful song. I think it makes people look at shepherds in a different way from a godly perspective. And so that's what I'm saying. Your talent is a gift to be able to convey in song, the way you tell stories, and it resonates. I think it long after people have heard the music, they're still talking about it because it's not like anything else you're hearing out there. Um, and as I was saying pre-interview, it amazes me how many albums you put out in such a short amount of time. and they're all so good. A lot of artists, when they put out an album after album, oftentimes, at some point the music tends to fall flat, or it might fall off. Yours just continues onward. It's like this trajectory that just keeps going up.
Dawn,
So
you're killing me today.
no, it's just a radio perspective of what I see, and by comparison of just across the board. And it is really something unique. And you're out there promoting yourself. And I mean, that takes a lot of work in itself, to just all the promotion to get the music out and to get get the word out about it. So
I
that's a
appreciate it.
full-time job in itself, by the way.
No, I'm blown away by the compliments, and thank you very much. I would say that uh, I couldn't write something to save my life for 10 years. And then
Wow.
all of a sudden the spigot opened and it just flowed, and it hasn't stopped for about 3 or 4 years now. And I look at it as a kind of a gift from God.
Mm-hmm.
If
Mm-hmm.
I get a song idea and it just kind of gnaws at me, and until I write it and get it done. So as long as those ideas are coming, and the inspiration's there, I'm just going to keep writing, because I know that nothing lasts forever, right? So
That's so true.
so I'm just in fact, I'm going back to Nashville to do another record, because we got more songs, and
Yeah.
so why
You know,
not?
you don't get them to sit on them. I mean, you get them to put them out, right?
He certainly doesn't.
No. So on this project, you've collaborated with Carly Greer and Dale Ann Bradley. And what was it like? Talk a little bit about your experience with working with two amazing family vocalists. I mean,
Yeah.
they're just some of the best in the business.
Well, I'll start with Dale Ann. We were just watching her last night singing at a general store, in a general store. I think it was in Bristol or something. And we're just uh, enamored, amazed by her ability to connect on a certain level. And I look at her as the voice of Eastern Kentucky, because as soon as you hear her voice,
Mm-hmm.
you know that she's from Eastern Kentucky, and she lives just a couple counties down in Bell County. I think it's Middlesboro. And so when I reached out to her, this was on My Farm, My Bluegrass album, and I did a song called Ode to Ale Aid, and a song called Chimney Letters, and another song called Praise the Lord and Pass the Gravy. And she listened to the songs, and I wasn't sure what she was going to say. And she said, "Oh my goodness, these are great. And I'd really like to sing on them." So, she did.
Mm-hmm.
And it was amazing. She even did "You'll Never Leave Harlan Alive" with me, which is one of the few covers. I wish I wrote that song, Dawn, but
Oh yeah.
she sang that with me. But I've been blessed. When I heard Carly Greer of Crandall Creek, I'm like, man, I got to sing with this woman. And I found out she was from Wheeling, West Virginia. And so we did "Bury Me." We sang, that was the first song we sang together. Old Dwight Yoakam song, and Sirius XM picked it up right away and played it a lot. So I invited her on this Hillbilly Irish project, and I also invited her on the Christmas project. And I never had a blend with someone like I have with Carly. So we did a lot of like 2 and 3 part stuff together. I don't know, maybe it's that Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia thing.
Yeah.
But she's just tremendous. And then there's others too. Like I've gotten to work with Becky Buhler, who sang with me on the Appalachia Rust record, and got to know her. We met in a studio in Nashville, and worked together for a full day. And she's absolutely incredible. And I can't say enough good things about Kim Parent, she's sung about 50, 60 songs with me. She's the longtime background singer for Brooks and Dunn and Reba. And she is absolutely phenomenal. And then, we also did a lot of songs with Marty Slayton, and Marty was with the George Strait's band, Ace in the Hole band.
Mm-hmm.
She's done about 50 songs with me. So I'm a choir boy at heart, and I love my 3/4 part harmony. And when I get together with talented people like that, it's so much fun. And this next record will be they have a lot of good harmonies in it. So
That's awesome. I'm excited about that. So let's talk a little about your career because looking back, I mean, you've had an amazing career and no doubt about it. And just looking back over your career so far, what project or moment do you feel quietly changed everything for you? I mean, even if the audience didn't realize it at the time, what was that moment that kind of defined you and said, here
yeah.
we are?
The day I decided to stop doing cover songs and worrying about being popular at a country bar, there was a moment where I was like, geez, all these people are coming to see me play, and act like Dwight Yoakam and they're Garth Brooks. And I did that for quite a while. And I took it very seriously, but I didn't work on my craft. I didn't, I did some originals, but not to the extent I do now. So I just made the decision that I'm never going to do that again. And I'm going to see who I am, and good or bad or ugly, I'm going to see who I am. And so I started to write music on my own, and I collaborated with some people, some really good people. And I met a gentleman by the name of Jonathan Yudkin, who's a Grammy Award winning producer. I'm his only bluegrass artist, but he's absolutely a kindred spirit and a brother in all the in all the ways that you'd want out of a person. And he saw something in me, and he said, Marty, you need to come to Nashville, and you need to get back to old school recording. So he took my songs. We went into this old place where Garth Brooks used to do his demos, and it's called County Q. It used to be a Chinese restaurant in Berry Hill. Don, I don't think they've cleaned that place or changed a
Oh,
thing in like 25, 30 years. I really
oh,
don't.
wow.
And
They still vacuum there, but you get the idea.
I didn't see it. I'm kidding, Paul. But yeah, so we went and we got players that were just very roots Appalachia. They may have not been the best studio chart people, but they had feel. And we wanted mistakes, we wanted the warts, we wanted a live performance. So a lot of what you hear us do at County Q is the first take, right? And we play it live.
And everyone's in there together, right? You're not
Oh,
getting
wow.
from, it's not, so-and-so sending in their fiddle or they're sending in the bass. It's like, no, there's Mike Bubb, there's Matt Menifee, there's, Carl Miner, there's Josh Matheny, there's Rob Ikes, they're there and they're all in the same space. And I think that's because I've been able to be in those sessions. I think that's the feel that's captured and then is put out onto radio, is the fact that they are all there creating this real time.
Yeah, that's special because that doesn't happen much anymore. Like you were saying, everybody kind of piecemeals and they send in their pieces or their parts, and then it all gets put together and it's put out. But the average listener doesn't know all that. They don't, they're thinking everybody's in the studio together, recording that project, and it doesn't work that way so much anymore. So when it does happen, it's a really special thing. And I'm glad that you took a chance on yourself. It's one thing to be a cover artist and you're playing, bars and places and people love you. But then when you know that you've got this ability to write and you know that you're destined to do more with your career than just be a cover artist, it's like once you took that chance, it just things kind of started taking off. And I think your albums are a testament to that for sure.
No, and thanks. And I believe in the albums as well. I believe in the concept of of capturing a moment in time, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when I look at it's one of my favorite records. It's called "Wanted in Kentucky," okay?
Mm.
And this particular record was a 3-month project, 4-month project. That was a moment in time. And so I wrote the songs probably in a month and a half. Went into the studio and cut the recordings, tracked them. But I love the fact that every one of these songs it's almost thematic in a way, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorite songs is the title track called "Wanted in Kentucky," and I got the idea from my wife, and we were actually, she was we were laying in, we were just laying in there in bed trying to go to sleep, and I looked over, I said, "What are you doing?" And she said, I'm on ancestry.com. And I said, "Well, what's on ancestry.com?" And she said, "Well, I'm reading about my ancestors who were in a blood feud in Eastern Kentucky."
Oh,
And
neat.
yeah, so I want, "Tell me more," right? Tell me more. So her family, the Wyatts, had this feud with a family called the Youngs, and when you think of feuds, you usually think of Hatfields and McCoys, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there
Mm-hmm.
were plenty more where that came from, right?
Yeah.
So she was reading this article from 1883, and I thought, "Oh, this is interesting." And it happened only a few miles from our farm in Jackson County, Kentucky. And she said, "Yeah, my family ambushed, this constable and judge." And so as the story goes, um, Milton Wyatt, who was one of her ancestors, was on the run. And so,
After it all went down, he escaped to Missouri.
Oh, wow.
and I'm like, "Well, there's a song."
Mm-hmm. I was going to say that it was a song waiting to happen for sure.
So I wrote the song, and it's personal, it's real, it really happened in her family. And what's kind of cool is where our property is. She has a lot of her kin that are buried, in Kentucky grave sites. And as you probably know this, they're not like, Arlington Cemetery.
Right,
They're,
right.
they're just on people's property, right? And whoever,
Mm-hmm.
whoever owns the property takes care of the graves.
Right, right.
So, and then we had an incident where the energy company sent me a letter and said that they were going to build through our 194-acre tract. And I said, "No, you're not.
Oh, no, you're not.
Can't do that, right?" Well, they said,
Mm-hmm.
"Yes, we are, because we have what's called eminent domain." And so uh, my wife, I gave her so much credit. She was trying to fight these guys off for a year, because we have conserved property. I'll let Amber tell a little bit
Yeah,
about it.
so a great deal of the land is under a federally held conservation through the USDA, because there's several endangered species of bats, mussels, that live in that creek bed, and that is a designated critical habitat for them. And so I was continuing to be told that state law says eminent domain, and I said, well, this is a federally held protection. So to spare all the details, and it's still going on, and quite a fight for the land and the endangered species that are there, right? They've said we have a cave. We have bats that live in the cave. The Indiana bat is one of those bats. And it's amazing, how these things are put into place to be protected, yet we have to educate ourselves to further the protection, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so thankfully, it gave them great song material. And that's how Up Against the Big Hill Line came to be, through that, again, another personal battle in that same
Mm-hmm.
exact area. So when you look back and you go, 1883, there's battles, right? 2025, there's battles,
Right.
there's still things to stand for, and make sure the rights are wronged, or wrongs are righted.
So what I did take some creative license, Dawn, and I put my wife as the central character in the song, and she takes a 45 and blows away the energy company people.
That was creative. That was
Well, look, I was just as you were sharing. As you were sharing that, I was thinking to myself, they don't know that you're a Wyatt, first of all, and they haven't read Ancestry.com. So they should know if they read this, they're not going to win, right? So, I mean, they just need to leave it alone.
One of the guys
go on.
Is young.
It's wild. Yeah, it is kind of quite crazy history, and how it continues to go circle around. So we'll continue to put up that good fight, because we believe in, I said, listen, I'm not denying the Commonwealth power here,
right?
I'm just asking y'all to be much more strategic and mindful of where you're plowing through, right? Because currently working to clear waterways, right? The rivers and the creeks, and they're working on those efforts. And I'm like, I'm trying to stop that from needing to occur here, right?
Right.
So yeah, it's pretty. It definitely made for great music.
Dawn, we'll bring you out there. We'll have a big rally, and we'll
See, there you go. And we'll broadcast it live on the radio station. How about that? We'll just we'll just blast it out across the world. Of all the albums that you've written, all the songs that you've written, so is there any one particular album or song from your past that kind of taught you the most, not just musically, but who you are as an artist?
Interesting.
I don't know that I've ever been asked that. Wow. I don't know. I think I don't know. I think My Farm, My Bluegrass, maybe that one. I wrote all the songs on it, and it's primarily about my farm, and that's the actual barn on my farm. So,
oh, nice. That's nice.
So my friend TJ Matusik, he's an award-winning Disney artist, and so he Amber sent him a picture, and he painted the barn. Right. And then all the songs kind of emanate from the barn,
Oh gosh.
The big
Excuse me.
barn dances, poverty, to the challenges of tobacco farming, Chimney Letters is actually on this. I brought that over to the Christmas record, but Chimney Letters is interesting because if you go to Eastern Kentucky, you see all these beautiful chimneys, but no home, just a chimney. And so that 200 years ago, there was somebody who relied on that chimney for cooking their food, and keeping warm. But they're everywhere. We've got a couple on our property. They're just old, beautiful, hand-built chimneys that are just still there, but the home is gone. The homestead is gone. So that particular record, and I think Dale Ann Bradley brought a lot of Eastern Kentucky to it. When she decided to sing with me on this record, it was a game changer, and I don't know. I just like the fact that you have the original artwork, right, of the barn. It's all original songs, and it's very Eastern Kentucky centric. So I don't know, if you get a chance, check it out. It's an interesting record. But I think that's the moment for me when I think back of to answer your question.
So if you could sit down with your younger self and while recording one of your very first albums, what advice would you give the younger version of Marty Falle? And what would you tell him not to change?
Say that again.
If you could sit down with your younger self while recording one of your first albums, what advice would you give him yourself? And what would you tell yourself not to change?
Sure. The first thing I'd say is, you stupid, dumb idiot. You don't know squat. You know
Oh, dear.
nothing.
Oh dear.
Isn't that how we learn, though? We start from nothing and we work from there, right?
Arrogant idiot. No.
Yeah.
So I do like the whole dressing down of first, right? And the belittling, the whole, you think you know it all. You're just young and dumb. But I would say,
Everyone when they're young thinks they know it all, right? So I mean, our parents can't tell us anything.
yeah, I would say put that drink down and never pick it back up. I think I think for me, quitting alcohol, going on 10 years now has been a tremendously healing and it's my whole, I see things up very clearly now,
Mm.
I would tell that person, don't ever put a drink to your lips. I would tell that person to never do a cover song. I would tell that person never to waste another second of the day on anything more than actualizing the gifts that God gave you. So
Mm.
what potential you have in your body and your soul is to actualize that, because someday you're going to feel like you're running out of time, or someday you're going to have health challenges that are going to make things difficult. So that's, I guess, the first half of it. What was the second half?
The second half of it was, well, I think you covered it. What would you not change? What would you tell him not to change?
Oh gosh, not to change. I don't know.
I would say I think the best thing he ever did, in my opinion, as his wife, is I think when you're a songwriter, it's a very vulnerable place to be, right?
Yeah.
And I think the moment he was like, okay, he kind of explained earlier, like authentic, but also vulnerable to go,
Mm-hmm.
when you go into these studio sessions, you're like, here's my song. And then you're like, he will be like, do they like it? Do they, and it's
Right.
like, and not being much more confident in that and authentic in that, I think is why he's been successful, because that authenticity bleeds through, and those stories are in him from life experiences. And then others realize that this is real, this is authentic, right? And they relate to the realness and the rawness, and sometimes the joy of the songs that are coming from the inner soul. But as a songwriter, that's again an incredibly vulnerable.
Absolutely. Yeah, when you're writing from personal experience, I mean, you're really putting it out there. One, because you're opening yourself up for critique, which is always the case in this industry, and any form of creativity. When you allow yourself to be that vulnerable, because you don't know if people are going to like what you have to offer. But authenticity cannot be faked, and people as a whole can tell when someone's authentic and when they are fake. Um, Being authentic, I think you're so sincere in what you do, and you believe in what you do so strongly that there's no way to fake that. So in music, particularly, like from a listener perspective, when they're hearing a song, it resonates because they've lived that experience, or all of a sudden they realize when they've listened to a song, oh my gosh, this artist or this songwriter has been through something similar. All of a sudden, I don't feel alone in the world anymore. So they feel seen, they feel heard, and that's the beauty of music. It's such a universal language, no matter what genre it is, because there's always a way of making the listener feel something that maybe they had pressed down or they tried to forget about, and it brings the vulnerability out of the listener as well. For sure. So now, Marty, as your catalog has grown and it continues to grow, has your definition of success changed? What does a successful project look like to you now compared to early in your career?
Interesting.
It's like kudzu, right? It just keeps growing and growing and growing.
I don't think that's a bad thing. Like I said before, you're the envy of a lot of artists who wish they just had songs pouring out of them continuously, where I've got to go make an album. That's unique, and it doesn't happen. So
I'm like the kudzu of bluegrass. I don't know whether it's beautiful or a weed, a dangerous weed that's kind of needs to be pushed.
Oh
I would say, heck, I would say, I was telling my wife about success and definitions of success, and success for me has been achieved, right? I have a beautiful son. I got a beautiful wife. I got
Mm-hmm.
my deep faith in God. I have, been blessed by God with so many different things, family, extended family, music. He brought music into my life, um, so many things. So at this point, it's all gravy, right? It's
Mm.
just gravy.
Exactly.
So, so no matter what happens, I have succeeded. Now, um, I have, as far as quality is concerned, I have a great band that I play with, and we make sure that even though there are a lot of warts and the music's authentic, that it's the best we could possibly do, right?
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
want to make sure of that, and I don't think that'll change on this next record. And it
Right.
might be the last record, or it might be the first of a few more. I don't know,
It's not
but
going to be your last. I'm
and
making the prediction. I'm putting it out there. I just think you are, I don't even like to say you're on a roll, because I don't think this is something that's temporary. This has been ongoing for quite some time now. And it just doesn't feel like you're slowing down, because your projects, as I was mentioning to you earlier, your projects aren't, they aren't getting less than. They continue to just, when you put a project out, you're like, how is he going to top this? And you do. And then the next one comes out and you're like, well, I don't know how he's going to do this, because he's done this, 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 and this. And all of a sudden, here comes a new Marty Falle project. And before we've even gotten really ingrained on the last one, and it's like, wow, and it just shows how much drive and determination and dedication you have to what you're doing. And I also want to say that anytime God is the center of everything we do, I mean, your priorities are obviously straight. Your family is first and everything. God is first and everything. And I think you said it best, is that everything else is just gravy. It's just like the cherry on top, right? It's, everything else is just, you get to enjoy all the fruits of your labor because of your perspective on life and things in general. And I think that's why you just keep becoming this fountain of continual music that's just flowing out of you, and stories to tell. They're endless.
I mean, Don, I, I decided that I'm going to hire you as my life coach,
Oh, well, I'm just going off of what I've seen
because I
out of
am
your
I,
music.
I'm
And
I'm I'm floating around right now, and I'm
well, you
you
got
got
to remember, I'm just speaking from a radio perspective. I've been in radio a long
and
time,
I'm
and I've seen
feeling
a lot of
down.
music, you know. But I can
Yeah,
honestly say, over my entire career, I've never, and I've done different genres of music, but I can tell you, in any genre I've ever been a part of, I've never known a single artist to put out as much music in a short amount of time as you have. And you're in a class by yourself that I'm aware of. So, but I think too, when you're not under the confines of the industry and a label where they're dictating how often you can put out music, when you can put out music, what you can put out for that matter, what they think is going to sell, put money in their pocket. I mean, when you have creative control, there's nothing like it in the world. It's like, why would anybody at this point in time, when you have the age of social media and you have all the abilities to stream your music and do all the things on your own, and if you're willing to put in the time investment that it takes across the board, you can be very successful. And and that's kind of bad for the record people, but but at the same time, it's great for artists, because now you're getting to kind of reap the full benefits of all the fruits of your labor versus before. And that's the beauty of it. And so I think with you, it's allowed you to put out the music like you have, whereas a lot of artists are on labels, and it's very structured what they can and can't do and how soon they can put out new music. So that's why you're running circles around everybody in that way.
It's a lot of work, I will say.
Oh, absolutely. It's
Yeah,
nonstop.
I can see how like that a machine would be helpful, right? But like
Right.
that also stop, he's such a creative being, that's where, because that was the priority. It's like there's still, in my opinion, so much to learn as it relates,
Mm-hmm.
like that, getting the music out there, getting it heard, and thankful for yourself for doing just that, right? Because that's hard. That,
Mm-hmm.
this industry is not easy, and we've come such a long way in the amount of time that we've been doing this as a family to learn the industry, right? Because like
Mm-hmm.
that, there's reasons why there's labels, there's reasons why certain
Right.
positions in the industry exist, because it's very involved, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, like that, for Marty to be the singer, the songwriter, the producer, right? It's like it's the only way it makes sense, because like that's the only thing that allows true creative freedom.
Absolutely. And I think when you're not making music, Marty, the other facet is the business side, because you're handling all that too, and all the promotion of your music and making sure it's getting in all the radio DJ hands, and and then promoting on social so that people hear about it and they go and get it. And that's another full-time job in and of itself. And that's where a label would be helpful, because they would handle all of that, but at the same time you don't lose any creative control by being in control of your talent and your career, the way on your terms and the way you want to do it. And so many artists don't have that luxury, and that's a blessing too. It could be a curse some days depending on how busy you are. But
It is a
for the most
blessing.
part, I'm sure it's a blessing because of the rewards that you get to receive in return. So that's a beautiful thing. um Now, I've got to ask, was there ever a song or an album early on that didn't connect right away, but later took on new meaning, either for you or for listeners?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Wow. This was never a smooth path, and taking my lumps along the way was certainly part of it. I think, gosh, I remember the first demo, and I didn't even know what a demo was, but I did it with uh, Lou Toomey, who played with Keith Whitley. I was in Lexington, Kentucky, and he also played with the Judds, back in the day. Uh, and I had no idea what to do or what, and I was actually kind of embarrassed looking back that I didn't really, it wasn't my best, right? It wasn't my best. And then I went hard on country music, where, I got caught up in, I think writing with people that maybe I shouldn't have wrote with. I thought that they knew more than I knew more than me. And then once I realized that writing from your heart, no matter how simple it is what you should do. You don't have to be clever. But
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a couple. I did a couple of, I call them records, but you're not going to find them that it's got songs on them that I'm not particularly proud of. And it really wasn't until I met Jonathan Yudkin, I think it was about 15, 17 years ago, where, he sat down and he explained what the process is. He took the time, saw something in me to explain to me how this works. And so, we all have our roles, right? So mine
Mm-hmm.
is, my role is writer, singer, performer. I do some of the harmonies. I do, some of the guitar work and executive producer and all those things. I'm part of the mixing process. I'm the final word on what
Mm-hmm.
happens. But when you go into a studio with, like, Mike Bubb and Matt Metheny and Carl Miner, who's just an amazing flat picker, and Matt Menifee, who from Mumford,
Mm-hmm.
just incredible. And I've gotten to play with Rob Ikes and Jim Hoke, he sits in with us, and and then you work with singers like Dale Ann Bradley and Carly Greer and Marty Slayton and Kim Parent and Beth Green and Caroline Owens has done some stuff with us, and Becky Bueller. What could possibly go wrong, right? So
Right.
you stick all those people in a room, and if the song's any good, it can't. What can go wrong, right? So
Yeah. Well, as a creative, and I'm a creative myself, and when you start out at anything, you don't know everything there is to know. So I think sometimes your earliest decisions are based on, oh, they've got more experience than me. They've done this longer. I can really learn from them and glean from them. And then it ends up being in my personal experience, it has been some of the worst disastrous decisions. Like when I first got into like owning a bluegrass radio station, I thought collaborating with someone that had been in the industry and was doing it, and oh man, I could learn the ropes, right? I had the natural knack for it, but just didn't know the ins and outs of the things.
yeah.
And so it really is a learning curve. And I guess it's true, every artist, every creative has started at ground zero, and they've worked from there to they learn along the way, and that's how they continue to hone their craft and really learn and gain the experience. But nobody starts out at the top. It's always you gotta be in the dirt first and kind of claw your way up. But and it's a process. It's a labor of love that sometimes the rewards feel like they're not there, but then other times you get to do great things that you didn't see coming, and you're like, wow. And then you realize how blessed you are that you get the opportunities that other people don't necessarily get to have, and those are the rewards. They come. You just don't know when they're going to come.
Well said. I wrote a song called "I Broke Bread with the Devil" on the Hillbilly Irish record, and it has a lot to do with being betrayed by business partners and friends, right? Who you thought had best interest in heart. And there's a line in there that I wrote called it's "Some hands are better
left unshaken."
Yeah, that's a powerful. I mean, and that's the thing about your music, is that it tends to resonate with people. I know I've listened to it. When I heard that song, I was thinking about, how in my own life, just in the business I'm in, and I've done podcasting and other things, and it's like you really have to be careful who you're dealing with and who you're talking to, because a lot of aspects, whether it's this industry or the next, is very cutthroat. And you've got a lot of self-serving people that are really out there. They've got their own agenda. They've got their own plans, and so a lot of times they may see things in you may not see in yourself, but they're like, how can I use this person to get to this next level? And it really takes on a life of its own almost, and sometimes I think being independent is best, because you get the creative control, you get to maintain that, but then you also get to pick and choose who you want to deal with too,
Yeah.
in your career, which I think is very, very instrumental.
Well, we've reached out to that's not always true, because we reached out to Dolly Parton. She still hasn't gotten back to us. We reached out
Look, she hasn't said anything. That doesn't mean no.
She didn't say
Doesn't
no.
mean no. That's right.
But guess what? If you ask the question, it's always a no. So
that's right. If she'd have come back, or her people would come back and gave you an answer right away. I've interviewed people through the years, and all kind of like celebrities and stuff. And if you don't hear something, you think, oh well, they're just going to ghost me. And then you might 4 weeks later, the publicists are responding. Oh, did you still want to do that interview? Really? It's and you're like, well, of course, but I mean, you just don't ever know. So sometimes no answer doesn't mean no. It just means not right now, or
all right. I feel better now.
See. So Dolly is Dolly. I mean, I'm sure she has people all day long requesting, but yeah.
Dolly, if you're listening, Dolly, this is your boy,
There
Marty.
you go. There you go.
I got a song for you. Call me.
I think that's right. That's right. So, your earlier records, they help lay the foundation, I feel like, for the Bluegrass Christmas Stories album. And in what ways do you see this new album as a continuation of that journey rather than a departure? I know early on you said you didn't ever think you were going to do a Christmas album, and you've done all this other great stuff in advance of that. So, what do you think? I mean, how has it contributed to your journey thus far?
Well, I think I made the right decision not to sing Jingle Bells, right? Uh,
Mm,
and write bluegrass, Eastern Kentucky, Appalachian Christmas stories. And
hmm
that's really what I did. The Snow Sang Hallelujah, Christmas in the Coal Field, Schoolhouse of Glory. It's another song that's just, we have an old schoolhouse that's on our property, and just thinking about how those kids had to walk miles and miles to school, and you know and through the snow and through the cold, and just to get home for Christmas so they could be with their families. It's those types of songs were a good continuation.
hmm
um, and it's gotten really good reviews, so I'm happy about that. And
hmm
but I'm also excited about the next thing, and I'm always thinking about the next thing. So we're scheduled to be up in Nashville, believe in January for I got a session up at Farmland, which is a really cool studio in Berry Hill, and I'll also play, I believe, live a couple songs at SAR, which is also in Nashville, and you will be getting an invite, Dawn. So if you're, if you want to take the train ride in, we're going to be there for you. Uh,
Awesome.
so yeah, I think the Christmas album is a good continuation of what's to be, and I'm glad I did it. I'm glad God gave me the talent to kind of put it together, and you liked it. So what could be
hmm
wrong, right? You know,
Now, well,
I
you
actually
can't go wrong with
extracted
a
from your
Christmas
quote.
album.
I took one of your quotes and I put it on my AirPlay Direct profile. Dawn says this is a great album. So
Be my guest. Be my guest. I've got one final question for you, which I think kind of captures the entire interview, and that is, um, imagine if someone finds your music in 50 years from now. What do you hope it tells them about bluegrass music in 2025 and about who Marty Falle was as an artist?
oh, what a question. Um, Bluegrass history is really important to me. I try to put a Scots Irish song on every one of my records. And I do that on purpose, is because that's the origin of roots. And that's where, before it came to Appalachia, it was Scots Irish. That's the
Mm.
origin of bluegrass. I mean, if you want to go back farther than that, you can, but really that's as far as what's kind of known. So I try to write a song about the history, and then I try to stay true and accurate to what I'm writing about. So from a culture perspective, I want you to know what it was like in 1883 in
Mhm.
Jackson County, Kentucky. I want you to know what it was like in Pike County in 1900. A song called Breaker Boys, which is about underage children that were used to work in the mines to separate the coal in Pennsylvania and different places of Appalachia. I want you to understand through the music what had happened there. So I'm a history buff, and I hope that I was a good reflection, maybe a historical reference of what had happened through the eyes of roots music. Is that, I don't know, maybe something like that I would be flattered if that happened.
Well, I think people, if there are people that have never cracked open a history book or they're not history buffs, they can learn a lot from your music because of the stories you tell about real life events in history that have occurred. And and a lot of things in that way. I think bluegrass music as a whole does a great job of that, of capturing those lost stories or story. I mean, I know since I've been in the genre, there's a lot that I've learned about historical events and facts and so forth that I never knew before, that only bluegrass music has been able to bring to listeners. And so I think staying true to that is really a great thing, because that's the piece of bluegrass that'll never be lost, because there's always going to be something in history to tell. And I think it's hard to imagine 50 years from now, but it's been, what, 40 years since I've been out of high school, and it's like it goes by in a blink, but to think what people in bluegrass, the artists and stuff, have to contribute, that are they leave behind for others to come, is a wonderful thing, because that's where what it's all about, is the roots and how it all goes together.
Can
So,
Mac say something?
absolutely.
Just thanks for interviewing us.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I've enjoyed talking with all of you and having you on, and it's just a real joy. And I could talk to you for hours, because you have endless stories to tell, and you're fascinating, and just to hear everything. And I hope that the power company gets the message.
Me too.
I know this has nothing to do with the interview, Don, but are we best friends now?
I don't know.
Did I just find a new BFF?
I mean, I think you guys could be, for sure. No, this was great. I really appreciate your time, and just, I'm glad we finally were able to connect and do the interview, and would love to have you back, because I'm sure we're going to have plenty to talk about moving forward as well. So.
And I love your questions. I mean, for someone to ask him a question he's kind of taken back by, I mean, kudos to you, because I think those are.
Thank you. I never like to ask standard questions that people get in interviews all the time. I mean, I've been interviewing people for probably 15, 16 years, and, interviewing so many celebrities has kind of taught me that, because they do tons of interviews and they get the same questions, how did you get your start? It's like, please, they can read that on Wikipedia. Don't ask that question, So I really try to craft questions that are not going to be ones that normally someone would get. It makes for a better interview, because then listeners, if they're following somebody and they want to listen to everything they do, they don't want to hear the same questions either. So,
right.
But thank you. I appreciate that. I take that as a high compliment. So. But thank you guys so much, and Merry Christmas to you all. I hope you have a wonderful holiday. And
Merry Christmas, Dawn. Thank you so much.
Marty, keep me posted on what you've got coming out, and then I'm sure we'll talk again, and keep everybody updated on everything you're doing.
You're the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
I know.
Bye.
What a wonderful conversation with Marty Falle, an artist who brings such intention, honesty, and storytelling depth to everything he creates. Bluegrass Christmas Stories is out now, and I highly encourage you to give it a listen. It's the kind of Christmas album that stays with you long after the season ends. Marty, thank you again for joining me on the Bluegrass Story and for sharing your heart, your stories, and your music with all of us. And to everyone listening, thank you for tuning in. Be sure to follow the show, share the episode, and keep supporting the artists who make bluegrass such a rich and meaningful world. More interviews and stories are on the way, but for now, this is Dawn Mack, and you've been listening to the Bluegrass Story.
You've been listening to The Bluegrass Story, a production of BluegrassPlanetRadio.com. We hope you've enjoyed this insightful journey into the world of bluegrass music and its captivating stories. Remember, you can tune in to The Bluegrass Story anytime on demand on all major streaming platforms. Keep the bluegrass spirit alive, and thank you for joining us.